I began the process of the cage makeover around the end of May when I started washing the connectors because I had bought in the grids from a thrift store and I just wanted to make sure it was clean prior to making an enclosure. I thoroughly soaped them and then I scrubbed them down as well and used hot water and just some dish soap to clean it. I also cleaned the grids after that, and I went outside and I used the hose and then I scrubbed them down. I made sure to scrub each single grid, and I'm pretty sure some sort of animal had been living in it prior to me buying it because there was fur stuck on some of the grids and I had to pull it off. So here I'm just taking apart the old cage so this is the last time you'll see the old cage in a video. I basically just got rid of everything and then I set Odyssey up in the kitchen so then she could be in there while I was in the living room and getting everything out of the way. I took everything out of the enclosure and then I detached the enclosure from the pet store cage because I just used twist ties, so I untwisted those and then folded up the enclosure and put it away. I ended up keeping the enclosure and I now use it for her blocking off areas while she's free roaming, and it turned out to be very useful for that. And I'm so not used to how the living room looked at this point because it was so empty compared to how it normally is. I continued to take everything out of the enclosure, or rather where the enclosure used to be, and I swept up all the hay, swept inside the cage just as if I was doing a deep clean. I then started to vacuum, but of course the vacuum has to die at the most inconvenient moment, so I decided to sweep some more and do that more thoroughly. And here's just a quick check on Odyssey, who's happily munching on some hay in her litter box while I do the cleaning. I took a wet towel and then I wiped down the inside of the enclosure, and then finally the vacuum was charged enough, so I started vacuuming the rug, and I also vacuumed like the living room area because there was quite a mess, and then I took away the rug, vacuumed under it as this has not been done for over a year since we got the rug, and then I vacuumed inside the small enclosure as well and put the rug back to where it was supposed to be. I then started building the new enclosure. Now let me tell you, these grids were like the absolute hardest to work with. The black grids were already bad enough, but these white ones, like the connectors, they're so tight that it's hard to get it together. Like I struggled so much when I was trying to put this together, and then things would not stay together, and then I had to keep like banging it around on the ground and everything. And I failed making that part because I forgot to put a door. Anyways, I stopped filming just because it was getting so difficult to make, so there's just my progress. And then after I was completely done, I zip tied where all the connectors were just so it stayed together better, because it was very difficult for it to stay together with how annoying these connectors were. And as you can see, I did that for where all the connectors were all around the cage, and then I used twist ties to connect the enclosure to the small pet store cage. And then there's the lid. That's just the baby gate that we used as a lid before, but I had to make adjustments to the other part of the lid as it was too small because this enclosure is slightly bigger. So I decided to zip tie some more grids onto the original lid that we had. That's just some grids connected to a conduit tubing, and then I used that and it works pretty good as a lid, except it kind of falls a little bit, but it's alright. And here's the final look of how it is with the lid on. The lid is still necessary, even though this enclosure is taller. This enclosure is give or take 30 inches tall or so. It still needs a lid because she is a great jumper. And here's just Odyssey exploring the enclosure. I didn't film myself decorating it just because I'm running out of storage on my phone, so there will be a decorating video soon, hopefully out next week, so if you guys want to check that out when it comes out, then you could wait for that. But Odyssey has been loving her new enclosure. She hasn't really noticed any differences, to be honest, and she has been living happily in it despite the changes. So this will be it for the video. I hope you enjoyed. Bye!